Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm just going to give another minute and we'll get started after that. I know sometimes folks are just hopping on. So thank you again. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. This is I think, our sixth AI roundtable that we're doing, maybe the seventh one, where we sit and talk just for about an hour about some of the issues that mid and small size organizations and some large ones too are experiencing. And it could be we tend to have a mix of banks, credit unions, fintechs. We've even had insurance and investment banks, insurance providers and investment banks join over the last little bit. We try to keep it sort of to a mid and small size, about under 10 people, just so we have time to go through some of the content. Um, my name is Karan Bala. I'm the CEO of AiVantage. I've been in AI and financial services now for longer than I care to admit, I think about 25 years, and really very, very active in leading, bringing in AI to organizations. But obviously, this is less about me. This is more about hearing and sharing with everybody. But I will be moderating the session today. We'll start with just to give a sense of how the flow works. I have, as you can see, six questions out there. I'm yet to run into do a roundtable where we go through all six, but we do hop around a little bit. We'll start with very brief introductions. Tell us who you are, where you work, and maybe if you'd want to add anything about what you're doing in AI and the organization, feel free to do that. If you don't do it, then you will have a chance to do it throughout the course of the presentation, the discussion itself. We talk about what initiatives are some of your highest priority and why did you decide that now? Like what has prompted that to become your highest priority? You should have received these questions ahead of time, but just in case you didn't. Also, we talk a little bit about how are you promoting AI? And there's a lot of discussion around this. Is the best way to bring it? Is it top down? Is it leader driven down? Is it the younger youth, the new employees bringing in? Is it specific functions? If you could improve a single stage of the consumer life cycle, where would it be? Would it be where would you prioritize AI in there? What are the pros and cons? What are you? I like this fifth one the most, which is where are areas that you might be over or underestimating, and maybe even a little bit about what prep you've done to accurately value the estimate. And then, are you doing enough? And what is enough? It's hard to say in today's day and age. So even that we'll talk a little bit about. So that's sort of the general flow. Just because it is a roundtable and everybody will have access to speak. I typically don't limit anybody. We don't mute anyone. So just please be considerate. Speak freely. Share your thoughts and listen fully too. I may try to wrap things up, a conversation. I may try to wrap a particular speaker at one point, in case just to keep the conversations flowing and really time also. We obviously encourage everybody to have their camera on. As you know, in this digital world, it's a lot more interactive. So if you do have the option to have your camera on, we'd love that. I will keep mine on the whole time as well. This session will be recorded. It is being recorded, and we typically share it with everybody because what I've found is even though it's an hour, you get to hear and you get to like and you get to know some of the other people on the call. So we do share like a LinkedIn profile or to everybody and the email. If you do not want that, please just drop me a note after this. We don't do it instantly. It goes out tomorrow afternoon. So if there's anything you don't want to be shared, say you don't want your LinkedIn to be out there or you don't want your email, um, happy to. Actually, we don't share the emails. We do share the LinkedIn. So nobody else sees the emails addresses. And with that, I will jump right in. I see. Looks like we've got about seven, one, two, three, eight folks on the line. Perfect. We might have more join in, but as folks join in, we obviously I don't. Um, we won't stop necessarily. We'll continue with the flow. Nathan, we see your background, your beach house, but we don't see you on. Just so you know. Um, I think you're trying to get the camera there, but not. So just in the interest of time, would love to kind of kick it off with introductions. I'll just call out folks. That's the easiest way to do the introductions, and then we'll jump into questions after that. For everybody's benefit, like I mentioned, my name's Karan Bala. I've been in financial services now for what feels like almost forever, but it's kind of interesting over time. Industry and technology has changed so much that you see it and you feel like you've seen through many cycles. And I think that adds a little bit of time and age to your time on in this business. So yeah, CEO of AiVantage, now work almost exclusively with credit unions and small banks. Um, let's see, there may be a chat. Oh, I think somebody couldn't hear. I know they have left since, so maybe they'll come back on and hop back on. So with that, I'll pass it over to you, Eric. You are first on my list there. If you don't mind, just a quick introduction and tell us who you are, where you're based.
Sure, I'm Eric Fry. I'm with Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. I handle a number of our CUSOs. For those not familiar, that is a credit union service organization, a business owned by the credit union. Right now, a majority of that is in ancillary product. So it could be warranty products, could be insurance, could be investments, Medicare, anything along those lines. And just kind of give my background, I have been in the finance world for about 27 years now, and have been with Notre Dame for 20 of them. So,
welcome, Eric. Stacy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stacy Webb. I'm a Senior Vice President with Choice One Bank based out of Sparta, Michigan. We're a $4.4 billion bank, and I oversee the innovation department among other departments that roll up to me. I'm not our expert of innovation. We do have one on staff. We're actively looking for opportunities to implement. Right now, it's been through partner relationships with Posh AI and Balto. So limited basis, looking for opportunities and looking to learn from other institutions how they're automating workflows and gaining efficiencies.
Oh, thank you. Brian Grime, am I pronouncing your name right, sir?
Yeah. Yep, we're Superior Credit Union here in Ohio. Been with the credit union for about 15 years, CIO, so pretty much anything electronic goes through us. So.
Very nice. Dan?
Director of IT at Wolf River Community Bank. We're about a $400 million bank. Been in banking for the last 9 years, 20 years prior. I was an outside IT systems engineer, background in computer engineering. So we are dabbling at this point.
Dan, where's Wolf River?
We are between Appleton and Green Bay in Wisconsin.
Wondering if it's tied to there being a lot of wolves. I was like, what part of the U.S. do we have? I know you got them in Yellowstone.
We got the river that flooded 3 weeks ago, and they had to evacuate we're in Cheyenne, a small town of 900, and they had to evacuate the whole village about 3 weeks ago. And the water was about 6 feet from the door.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that. Nathan?
Hello, I'm Nathan Teepool. I am with Centricity Credit Union. Been with the credit union here for a little over 5 years, about 24 plus years in the industry. Currently, I am the Senior Vice President of Lending, and I'm also going to be looking at taking over the deposit strategy for the credit union, as well as the lending and the loan products. So I consider us a smaller shop. We're just under 350 million as far as for assets, but we are very much on our strategic plan for next year is for us to do some additional implementation. We basically have Copilot and No, that's about the only one that we have open up. Just open up to the staff recently. Do have some policies. We just introduced the conversation with our board of directors for an AI governance program. So we realize it's here to stay. We want to do it safely with the proper guardrails. And we are trying to utilize some of the younger generations. We just had a gal that recently joined our accounting department, and she had been with us. She went and finished school and then came back, and just how she's able to utilize her knowledge, it's just crazy. I mean, she's coming in and doing the work of 2 or 3 people within a month. So trying to lean into their knowledge as well. I mean, I want to gain as much as I can, but I have to realize I can't know everything.
Yeah, I used to think I was a first mover till I realized I started hanging out with some of the younger folks, and I realized I'm like a third stage mover in terms of new technology. Elizabeth, or Liz, nice to see you.
Hello,
You're-
everyone.
yeah.
I go by Liz. So Liz Cronin, I'm at Haverhill Bank, which is in Massachusetts. We are right near the seacoast, enjoying a beautiful day today. So my role at the bank, Senior Vice President, I do compliance, information security. So I wear a lot of hats, but we are organizing our strategic plan around AI. We're developing policies and procedures, and a lot of what you all spoke of already, which is, just getting ready to implement and train staff and just, get comfortable with moving forward in this digital space. So we're excited.
Thank you. I know at some point we'd, at least in the conversation, we'd love to hear a little bit about how AI, in your perspective, is evolving into the compliance world. So we'll come to that.
Okay.
Brian Kiggins.
Yes, I'm Brian Kiggins with Unity Catholic Federal Credit Union out of Parma, Ohio. I am the Human Resources and Compliance Manager. Been in the industry, been in banking for more than 25 years, with credit unions 14. We're kind of at the beginning of this journey. We are looking at policies, and as another gentleman said earlier, we're kind of approaching the board with a governance strategy. So nothing implemented right now, just kind of putting down the foundation, if you will.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Kate.
Hi, Kate Pascarella. I am with Blue Ridge Bank here on the East Coast, and well, not on the East Coast, but Mid-Atlantic. And I think I have been a driver for AI here, although we haven't really fully embraced it and implemented it yet. And I see lots of uses for it to help with nearly every aspect of banking. So I'm a big advocate for it and can't wait for our bank to implement it the way that it should be.
And Kate, when you say Mid-Atlantic, whereabouts is that? I mean, I know what
I'm in-
Mid-Atlantic is, but sorry.
We're in Virginia. We're headquartered in Virginia, specifically in Richmond, but I work remote and much of our team works remote. So we're all over the state of Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina.
Okay. I'm a Hokie. That's why I was asking.
Me too. Oh, did you see that? Did you see my Hokie?
My background's back, but I got one at the back behind me
Oh,
too.
really?
Danelle, nice to see you.
Hi, sorry, I'm a little late and I'm not in a position to get on camera right at the moment. Hopefully I will be in the next 15 minutes. I missed the question though. Can you please tell me? I know we're
We're
introducing
just
ourselves.
introducing. We're just at the introductions.
Oh, awesome. Okay, Danelle Miller. I'm the president and CEO for a small credit union in Tampa, Florida, FiCare Federal Credit Union. And yeah, excited to kind of hear where everybody's at with their AI adventure and looking to get some input on where we can begin. Say that much.
Thank you, Danelle. And Maureen. Maureen? She can unmute maybe. I can.
Her mic is not working,
Okay.
it says.
Okay. Well, we'll just proceed then. Maureen, we will have a recording, obviously, you can hear, and you can obviously chat and type in as and when you have a question or anything like that. So just kind of jumping right in, I'm going to start with Dan. Dan, I mean, you've talked about being in the industry for a bit. What is your highest priority at the bank this year, and why now? Like, what's prompted this to become the highest priority? And I'm obviously with an AI context to it, which AI initiative?
Biggest priority is making money. The
It was a rough 2025.
well, no, actually, we had our best year in 2025. AI, certainly the senior management and they're younger people under 40. The CFO, she's certainly driving it, and she's then employed a couple of the 20 somethings to write agents to try and work across local data. But my opinion is that AI, Gen AI, the way it's structured today, is still, for a lot of people, a solution looking for a problem to solve. And that looks like what we're doing right now. We're still trying to find where can it give us something more than filling out our emails and creating documents for us, content. The fear I have is that I came out of a programming house that was generally programming, and things that I saw 30 years ago are now occurring again. We've got people who are now able to easily create an agent or a piece of code effectively, with no programming skills or appreciation for bandwidth or access to data. And so I see there's going to be a learning curve to not necessarily creating the agents and having it doing something, but understanding bandwidth, data access, and governance. And I see the team effectively rushing ahead and overrunning the headlights without an understanding of what exactly they're doing.
There's a lot of trial and error right now. I'm actually going to shift that same question over to Brian Grime, you, because I know that you're, in the CIO role, probably wearing a slightly different hat, and then maybe Stacy ask about your Posh experience, or at least what you've been doing with AI there. So Brian, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so to say what we've been doing, we've been testing some tools, but we're more interested in, rather than having a tool for helping with emails and a tool for helping with this and a tool for helping with that and so on and so forth. I don't want that tool sprawl. So it's more, we're looking more on that agentic AI model, where we're going to start building agents that are going to help with efficiencies more than anything at this point. We see some very easy, very quick wins in our fraud department. And when I say that, it's more gathering data, rather than having to go out and access Visa and our core and our credit card processing companies and stuff like that. We can have an AI agent, do all that for us. And that's kind of where we're looking to start with, is just that idea of not replacing anybody, but augmenting staff. So if, as we continue to grow, we don't have to grow our staff at the same rate, is more where we're looking for that AI intervention with it. So
Thank you. Stacy, your highest priority and why now? AI-based, AI initiative.
I think our highest priority is to look at those efficiencies that we could gain in automating, manual tasks, and using staff at highest and best use of time. Like Brian, we're looking to, implement some agents. We're in the process of, defining what those tasks would be and what agents would be built out. as far as our strategy, we're not trying to mass downsize staff either. We may look to repurpose them, but we have a lot of things that are done very manually. Community banks, kind of bring along that legacy of the work process. And so we really do, as we continue to grow, need to gain some efficiencies.
In general, just having done this a few times, what we are seeing as a common theme is that we're still nobody's talking about downsizing it. I think one of the roundtables somebody said, "Why aren't we talking about it?" But the rest of it, and we've done the same thing. We had a plan this quarter in Q2 to hire 3 developers. We're a growing tech company. We've got growing needs, and we've now scaled that back to one. And all of our developers that are working right now already are starting to use Cloud and Cursive and some of the other tools out there. So, well, we've definitely altered our hiring plan to a little bit more of a gradual growth, and like you said, a little bit of sort of repurpose uh, there. So just kind of moving to, I'll jump to the next question, and I know everybody we will engage, but is AI adoption across your organization? How are you bringing it about? Is it top down? Is it just is it the leaders go to a conference and hear about this, come back and say it? Are you encouraging your new folks to have new ideas? And Eric, I know from a QSO perspective, you all have, I think, at Notre Dame, a few QSOs you've invested in, and you're responsible for. How are you bringing on AI innovation? And then after that, Nathan, I'm going to ask you and Kate, you too, about that.
Well, for us, it really just kind of depends. I will say, going back to your question, it is much more of a top-down system right now. Honestly, in my opinion, I think that's a little bit wrong given the entrepreneurial nature that we have as a credit union, because I believe it is more of an opportunity for individuals. The more people that have the opportunity to participate and come up with new ideas, the better. However, I think a lot of that goes back to our more recent procedure outline, our compliance review, what AI tools we'll be using. So a lot of that is still, in that early phase. We're right now using OpenAI Enterprise, and we're also using Copilot. And we are limiting access to anyone that is not specifically authorized to use those items. So we recently actually just had the entire credit union sign an AI document in those regards. But as far as some of those directions that we are using, as I said, it really kind of depends upon the particular departments and groups that are utilizing that software. So, for example, a lot of our on the QSO side, it tends to be a mixture of business development, but it also tends to be a list of finding opportunities with other credit unions, with other partners, for example, with our discussions with you, how we can benefit the banking and financial environment in a whole. So we have brought on a couple of different AI tools, including some wallets. We got into a fintech that is software and hardware development. So it's going to be an opportunity for us to expand not just in AI, but coming up with other technologies that may develop from AI. We are in the process of creating our own agents as well. A lot of those are out scrubbing our data warehouse. So it's trying to come up with new plans, new ideas, see where people are spending money, see what it's being spent on, seeing what opportunities we have. I look at it, I think the question a minute ago was, downsizing. I don't expect us to have much in the way of downsizing at all based on AI. I think it's going to be something that's going to augment and make things better. If it were really my opinion on this and we used AI correctly, it would mean that we would have to hire more people because it would create new business for us if we do it in the right way. So like right now, just as an example, we have a robust lending platform, but there are some people that just do not want to deal with individuals, and we're creating ways to do that through agents so people don't have to. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that will still want to do that. So it is, how do you integrate on both sides and come up with new ways to both market, but at the same time, how do we go about finding other like-minded credit unions or other like-minded financial institutions that we can cooperate together and make something bigger.
Yeah. Nathan, what about y'all? I mean, how are you bringing in innovation in AI? Top down, bottom up, or like by function?
Um, at least for the time being right now, it is a top-down approach where the CEO is kind of taking the initiative and the charge on this, and him and I have partnered on quite a few different things, but he is taking the lead, and we initially opened it up to the executive team to kind of play around with it and find, use Copilot, do some of our own research on that. We have created an AI policy, and then for there's we have a trainer here, so some training that you have to attend, and you do have to sign off on a form as far as for what you're going to use, or that you understand it and what you can and can't do with it. Obviously, the concern we have is the privacy information with personal identifiable information. But we're trusting our teams to do that. Um, uh, and One of the, we're looking for obviously for efficiencies. Again, we're not looking to replace anyone either. We had a merger not too long ago, so we are a little heavy on the staff side. So we are looking, as every position becomes available, either through internal movement or someone decides to leave. We're reviewing everything, but from the AI standpoint, I mean, we do have a data team here, and I think it is going to kind of change how they're able to do and what they're able to do. And there's a lot of different things that we should be doing as credit unions. And we have so much data, we just really don't. At least in my case, what I've seen is we're not utilizing the data to our fullest capability. Kind of like what Eric said, if we're using it properly, we should be having to add teams because there's so much business that we're not capturing, that we need those extra team members for that.
We're
We
also,
actually,
sorry, go ahead. No, please.
we also have our one of our HR folks is actually going through. She took I just asked her a little bit ago. It's a SHRM AI in a high credential course. And she just published an article today as far as for how to use Copilot and make it customizable, so it's not just agreeing with you. So it challenges you a little bit. It doesn't just agree with your ideas. So that was, so we're at the beginning phases of this, and I believe, well, my belief and my CEOs is that we need to kind of embrace this if we want to be here in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, I know that most community banks and credit unions in general are at least focus a lot on operational efficiency. So I think the staffing thing, to your point, across like I said, majority of the conversations have not been around reduction in any kind of staff. It has been, how do we create opportunities using AI? And Kate, just after Kate, I'm going to ask Brian, because I mean, lo and behold, we today actually have somebody from HR here, so we can find out. There's a lot of talk about training and policies. We'd love to hear a little bit about that too. But Kate, how are you all bringing around? I mean, you all are diverse, spread out. It sounded like West Virginia, North Carolina as well. How do you bring innovation across AI? What is the thought around how you might be able to bring in AI innovation into the organization?
Well, we have an interim CEO, and he is very interested in AI and wants to have it implemented. We're having a little bit of a struggle with our IT, with their concern about security and privacy. And but they've put together a team to sort of explore the different AI options and how to implement it safely. So, but I think that there's a lot of uses for it. There's your typical AI agents that will help assist lenders and loan officers to pre-screen deals. It'll help underwriters identify cross-sell opportunities when they get into the financials and things like that. But then for an operational side, there's ways to improve that as well. A lot of the data cleanup you can do through an AI system. And I think, we have a lot of systems in place currently that use AI, and I don't know that it gets a lot of credit for it. Like our core system that we use, it uses AI to basically scrub for fraudulent transactions. We have a lending platform that has AI capabilities on it. And those are just a few of them that are already in place. And I think most people have those in place. So it's just building on top of that and getting our IT comfortable with being able to implement it in a safe way.
Yeah. Just having been like at least now with focus on AI for the last few years, for the up to recently, primarily it was your chatbots, knowledge repositories were popping up a lot more. Upload your documentation, everything's in one space, and then lending, whether that's like Zest or one of the other organizations out there, Synaptic, and there's a series of them that we're using a lot of into. That was sort of the primary. Now we're getting a lot more beyond that into call center ops, all of those areas. So Brian, what is from a HR and training standpoint? What are you all doing as an organization with that, bringing that to help with innovation across AI?
Are you looking to me?
Yes, Mr. Kiggins.
I apologize. Yeah, so again, we're really in the beginning of things. We're just trying to put together policies right now. To answer the prior question, it's very much a top-down situation for us right now. And obviously, from a human resources standpoint and a compliance standpoint, we have our concerns. So it's got to be done right. It's got to be done with proper guardrails. And then those who need it would have access to it. Those who don't won't. My biggest concern is that we use this, again, Unity Catholic, we have 2 branches, just under 100 million in assets. We're a humble 27. And I'd like to use AI to make us not so humble. So, what efficiencies, and I know we've mentioned that a couple of times today, that word efficiency, what can I do to make the lives from an HR standpoint of my 27 that much more productive? We can use that from an educational standpoint. Obviously, I think of the good old phrase how-tos, being able to self-discover answers to our members' questions faster and giving more instant gratification to the membership side. Processes that might take a day, we want that to go down to maybe a couple hours. So I could see AI being very advantageous that way.
For sure. And just in the spirit of sort of being collaborative, a couple of roundtables ago, we had one of the credit unions on, and they shared with us their AI due diligence process. And so, if anybody's interested, I mean, I'm happy to share that back. You can either let me know or just even nod your head. We're happy to share. Over there, it's not the AI policy necessarily, so this is not how you're using it, but this is how they were vetting potential vendors, especially ones that are coming in with an AI offering. Uh, Anything about how you want to bring in and validate security and the concerns. Some of that, so I can share that with anybody in the group that's interested. We have the go ahead from them. And frankly, on the other side of it, if anybody has a policy that they think would be beneficial and are willing to share, or feel free to let me know as well. And then we can circulate that out to the group. We do want to make it beneficial. So kind of moving on to the next question. Looks like we've got a couple of new folks too, so I will try to pull them into the conversation. Yes, Brian, I can absolutely. I'll send that out to everybody. We have, like I said, we have to go ahead to do it. If you had to, and Liz, I'm going to kind of pick on you here. If you could pick one aspect of the, consumer life cycle, or the consumer journey,
Yeah.
whether, because a lot of the new users, at least the new new consumers you're having, whether it's a new member, a new customer, is growing up in a world of having used AI more and more. I kind of joke my 20-year-old, I think, has a I'll be generous if I said a 3-second attention span. So unless it's some kind of an AI, fascination video thing going, he's not really looking at it much. So what do you see as an initiative across the consumer life cycle that you might be using AI in, directly consumer facing, whether it's awareness, education, ease of adoption? Go ahead.
Um, well, in my opinion, I agree with you because I have a couple of millennials too that I raised. So Yeah, I mean, they want information really quick, and they want it in they want it when they want it, but also if they don't understand it, they want answers quickly. So I would say that, our focus will be on equipping our staff and educating them with data quickly. So I see that as beneficial and one that would be a priority on our side, as far as the overall customer experience. They don't understand some of these regulations and reasons why things take so long to work out. They just, they don't understand it. So putting more tools in place for quicker responses, I think, will make everybody happy.
What about from a compliance standpoint? I was gonna bring that back up, so go ahead.
Oh, boy.
What are you all doing with
Yes.
compliance?
So compliance is where it really makes it tricky because, um, you know, AI just wants to explode and it will go down rabbit holes that you don't really want it to, or it maybe gather information that shouldn't be shared, or so there really has to be that balance of putting some security measures in place and some boundaries as far as what information is accessed and what is shared. So I think for compliance, I mean, we're just starting to understand it more to the point of on the regulatory side, on the supervision side, they're starting to examine us. And right now, they just want to test us and see if we have things in place. What's our governance? What's our structure? How are we
Yeah.
using it? But, you know, maybe the next go around of exams, they're going to go a little bit deeper. So there's a lot of challenges ahead from a compliance standpoint.
Well, I mean, just from an NCUA, which is something we follow quite closely, they
Yeah.
are just, I think, last year rolled out an analytics and data usage policies and stuff. So I know that AI will come. It's probably, lagging. These policies tend to lag a little bit, but absolutely there'll be more guidance and supervision. So I'm going to move this question over after that to Brian and Charlene. But before I do. Just to give you a heads up, so we have a marketing platform that basically takes data, curates content, and sends it out to consumers. And we have built in, and we've been looking, obviously, compliance is a big part of that. You don't want to be sending something wrong. So we use a separate, completely separate process for compliance. But what we have found is more and more now that there are some specialized compliance LLMs. Like, you have OpenAI for certain things and you use Gemini for certain things. There are now compliance natural LLMs, large language models that are popping up that you can pretty much send either documents or your, consumer communications that will then immediately check for compliance and get back to you and tell you n number of things that are potentially wrong with it. It could be sentiment, it could be language, it could be it's going to California and you need to be careful about something. So there's a lot of there's these things that are popping up that might be beneficial, at least in the future. That's why AI is stepping into the compliance world as well. So it's still coming. Brian, I'm just going to go back to you as a CI again. Like, what area, what one stage of the member journey are you all transforming using AI? Apart that's member facing.
Member facing, I would say probably again we're in that infinite stage. So to say we've done it, not yet. But the first one that we're probably going to start with is going to be that contact center. One, it can, I mean, with an AI agent, we're looking at it saying, is it going to be perfect? No, but it at least gets us something 24/7. We don't have to staff it all day, every day. So with that agent, we can have the basic questions being answered, and then anything else, it'll kind of be kicked off and say, okay, well, we'll get back with you on Monday when I can ask a supervisor or something along those lines type deal if it goes outside of a standard question that we would let the agent answer.
Yeah, a lot of sort of supportive bots or agents being put on the back end that can pre-equip them.
Yep.
I did know that. I think recently I was at the Entropy conference. I want to say last week, and there they were talking about, real time. I mean, obviously Illuma has been doing this for a bit, real time sentiment analysis as well into the call center. So as calls are coming in, engaging sentiment based on AI, and trying to again further equip and prepare the call center folks to be slightly like this consumer is really upset about this particular reason, or they've used this word 5 times. Clearly, this is something that's bothering them, and then taking that feedback and then creating actions out of that.
Mhm.
So there's more going on that. So Charlene, I don't know if you can unmute, but we just would love to quick introduction if you're on, and then maybe even hear how maybe your organization is of changing the way that you interact with your consumers. Do you have a way to unmute? See if I can do that. Hi, Charlene, are you there? Okay. We'll move on from that then. Oh, there you are. Go ahead. Hi. We can't hear you, but I did see you unmute. Charlene, we can't hear you, so I will move on. But in terms of, I'm going to jump to the last question. Go ahead. If you try and you speak up at any time, I'll stop. Okay. In what area of your organization you might be over or underestimating the impact of AI? I think this is interesting because are we heading to a reality check? Because everybody thought, what is it, the stages of adoption, where we all think it's going to be right up here, it's going to solve the world's problems, to realizing that actually it's going to be somewhere in the middle. So with that, Dan, I'm going to ask you, what are your expectations of the impact that this is going to have? And you can come at this with any angle.
I actually had one of our lenders ask me what I thought was going to happen 5-10 years out, and I says, well, from a consumer experience side of it, I expect the consumer to have the same experience that they have today, but the rep or the in-house person that's servicing them is actually going to be servicing 10 times as many people. It's just going to let them scale. But ideally, the user experience stays the same. To that point, I think all these suggestions, you have all these different organizations, including ourselves, coming up with different ideas to use things in house. I think the one comment was they use it for scraping data and doing data mining. All these suggestions are hard to do against the banking core from the end user, the banks or credit unions perspective. I think when all these suggestions for data mining and analytics and consumer experience are applied to the core directly and made available then out to the banks and their customers, I think that's where the biggest impact going to be. So I'm still waiting for the cores and we have a hosted core, so our data is sitting at off-prem. We don't have that direct data store to touch, but when that experience is applied to the core, then the bank in-house can take advantage of the data mining. The customer doing their online banking can ask those questions in plain English and get an opinion. So all this stuff has to get back to applied to the bigger picture, to the core. And once that then filters back out, I think that's where you're going to see the biggest impact down the road.
I remember, I think I heard somebody, must have been 15 years ago, saying like humans are enablers of technology. It's like we are just enabling it to make it super easy for the consumers. And like or not, I feel like that may be a little bit.
I feel like we're defeating ourselves. We're working ourselves into a technology corner.
Yeah, well, be that as it may, I think now we can think of humans are enabler of AI, because I think more and more we're thinking about how it can heavy reliance on efficiency is being the big thing right there. So
and the
Nathan,
thing
how
is,
are you? Sorry, go ahead.
so AI in the scheme of things, and I refer to it as automation integration, not artificial intelligence, but it's been in the IT side for security and networking for decades. It's what makes SIMs work, where it makes next gen EDR work. So what we're seeing now for the last 3, 4 years, 5 years, is all of a sudden the consumer product and the consumer being exposed to, oh, look what I can do. But it's been
Yeah.
around for decades.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's enabling of data. It's like more data feeding in quicker decisions, things sort of leading into one to the next. So Nathan, just kind of passing it to you, and then I'll ping Stacy and Eric, and then we'll kind of go into the last round of question. Nathan, what about you? I mean, are you how do you estimate, or how do you think you're going to be valuing the impact of AI going into the next year, next 12 months?
I guess can you explain valuing a little bit?
Yeah, well, the question was, are you overestimating or underestimating? And so it's not necessarily a monetary value, but how do you think it'll transform the organization, perhaps? And is that an overestimation, underestimation, in your opinion?
Um, I think our plan is overestimated for what it's actually, well, not what it's able to do, but what we're able to execute. I think our eyes are a little bit bigger than our stomach. We're not looking for the next shiny object. One of the things that we're trying to do is, in the past we've always like bought the Cadillac as far as for programs, vendors, and then we're using the Kia. So we're trying to, utilize more of what we have. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful that we'll hit somewhere in between. But I think our goals and our aspirations are a little bit lofty for what we can actually attain. But we do have, I mean, we do have a 5-year plan, and we just initiated here this last fall, so we're just in the beginning stages of it. So we're able to kind of modify it as we go along. But next year is that's kind of my timeline for, what am I going to implement on the lending side, as far as products, innovations. And I've kind of started that research already, but it's kind of, I've had to take a step back and get like my operations people involved, because some of the things we're looking at, like a product similar like to Galia, to where we're able to have real-time information, have the contact center, have help with the staff, so it's a good process for them, good process for the members. But like the core we have we have a Fiserv core, and they do, you know, they don't always play well with outside vendors. So they're trying to come up with something on their own. So we're also looking at that, which is I think it's the Experience Digital. It's similar to it. It's not the same, but we are working towards the goal, but we'll eventually, we'll get there. We're not I guess, I was at another roundtable last fall, and it's surprising how many financials are just kind of still sitting back and waiting to see what happens. And it's
we started doing this 2 years ago. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Right. Oh, yeah. And it is here, and it's not going away. So we want to kind of, not be we kind of want to try to be on the leading edge without being on the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
I think
I like
the
that. I'm
key
going to
word
use that, Nathan.
the key word
Right.
that Nathan had there is he's got a plan. At least you got some measurables and some targets. What I'm seeing inside our organization is a shotgun approach. Nobody really has a plan. They just have a lot of ideas.
But there was the whole data warehouses. Everybody wanted to build a data warehouse and didn't know how long it was actually going to take to build and what value it was actually going to generate. But many people started doing that. And I think and some folks are still doing it. And AI, I know for many is still like that. Obviously, now we're starting to see actual results coming out of it. So there's a slightly better. I'm a data guy, so data is starting to show more and more that we can get value. But coming back over the last 2 years, we've been doing these. Actually, last year we've been doing this these roundtables, and in that 1 year also, the conversations have evolved from a lot more skepticism around, will it work? Will my IT approve? To now, Dan, I think we're turning the corner on that, is that it is an accepted way of life a lot more. We've seen younger consumers are okay trading in their data for more value. So you start thinking about things that way, they're okay with the data part of it. And those younger consumers eventually are going to morph into your consumers as they go on. So Stacy, sorry, I know moving to you on that one. Overestimating, underestimating. What are your thoughts on the impact it's going to have on the organization?
Personally, I think we're underestimating it. I don't know that everyone here at the organization believes the same. I think it's like any innovation in banking. We're caught between two worlds. We're caught between the very conservative approach, and we're caught between people who would like to run forward and kind of be on that bleeding edge that Nathan talks about. I think that the challenge here is to move forward enough so that you're not left behind. And the organizations that are a little more nimble and start gaining those efficiencies and cost saves, will definitely benefit. And those that lag behind, they're going to be playing catch up. In my opinion, we need to take a little bit more aggressive approach. Our president's pretty proactive. He's involved in kind of monitoring where the industry's going. So that helps. So I think he's on board with being a supporter. And we also are recognizing that sometimes it's a little difficult for the departments to identify and get on board with new processes. So we're looking for a more enterprise level approach to identifying what those opportunities are and then bringing the departments in. Because if you go to the processing staff, for example, it's hard for them to see where they might gain efficiencies. They're going to want to do it the way they've always done it. And so we're looking to, kind of negate that approach and bring it top down.
Yeah,
So we
that's what I
want
was gonna say. I
buy-in,
wonder.
but
Yeah.
it's a dance. We want buy-in, but we want to, move it forward a little more quickly.
Maybe top-down ideas and down up innovation or something like that
Yes,
is the middle
something like
ground,
that.
perhaps, where things end up. Eric, I'm going to ask you the same question, then we'll just go into a round of sort of closing. Eric, just from your standpoint, overestimating, underestimating where the impact of AI is going to have for the next 12 months in your organizations.
Well, I think on the short term, if you're looking in the next few months, it's probably way overestimated. I think they just assume things will happen very quickly. As Dan says, it's kind of a shotgun approach. They just want to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And hopefully some of those pay out. I think long term, we're probably underestimating. And part of that is just seeing the predecessors to AI that we put in place and how those have come about. We talked about Dan in the core. We went to our own data warehouse 10 years ago to the point where we've had some AI groups come in from cores to ask us how we set up our data center. Our business intelligence center, and how we scrub it and what we use and what we look for. To the point where now you might say, hey, I want to analyze when loans are increasing from specific open lines and where they are in the country. So you can potentially have trends that can adjust loan limits for risk based upon measuring data that you have in the data warehouse if it goes back far enough. I think one of the things that's most interesting for us, or at least for me right now, is the vendor management side. And that is, I'm seeing some vendors that I'm having to switch midstream to be able to have AI integrate, basically. So like right now I have one vendor that we're going to just drop to one license so we have access to it, but switch to another because I can't get the data I need from them to be scrubbing in order to do what we're intending over the next year. So we're in the process of changing vendors in multiple cases, which is really a kind of a different thought process. So cost for us may be a little bit more, going back to where everybody seems to think operational efficiencies and procedures. I think those are the kind of things that are low-hanging fruit for us in the long run. But as long as you get buy-in from the staff, I think it's going to have some keys. Right now, I think you had mentioned earlier one thing that was really interesting, and that was the kind of emotional detection. We started using some of that number of years ago on the collection side, and it was very interesting because you could tell what words mattered to certain people, what timing of payments mattered to certain people, when they would take calls, and it could come back and tell us, hey, you're going to have the most impact with this individual that's consistently late by calling them at 4:15 in the afternoon and using these phrases to get buy-in from them. And it's shocking to see what kind of impact that has. I will say on the short end, one of the things that I did today, just to kind of give everybody an idea of my somewhat limited thought process, we created a couple of new web addresses today for us to have some of our external businesses start posting significantly more blog posts, white papers, whatever, so that we can be viewed as the experts in those areas. Because if you go just look at a Google search, for example, they're going to start pulling us up as the reference for these things. And it's not just, keyword searches anymore. It's how do you position yourself to be the go-to. So a lot of times we're spending doing that and then showing other credit unions how to do the exact same thing.
You said a lot of very, very interesting things. One of the fail fast. When I was at the QSO last week, the conference, and one of the big things I said was like every client, every vendor should have a 2-month contract, like 2-month opt out. These long-term contracts don't allow you to fail fast as much anymore as they used to back in the day. And 100% agree. That more and more of this AI sort of real-time generation is going to be impacted. Good to hear about your success story. So just going to wrap up real quick. My last question, and I'm going to open it up in a slightly different way. The question I had was, are you doing enough with AI, and how do you define what enough is? But you can answer that, or if you have a question that you want to pose to the group, feel free to do that, and we can have, you can raise your hand if you want to answer that too. So it's sort of like a bold question. Say does anybody run into this particular challenge? Has somebody done this? How would that work? So, Brian, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Kiggins. Just what are you doing, and are you doing enough with AI? And what is enough?
Well, as I alluded to before, we're really on the beginning of this. We're on the smaller side, so it's really, are we doing enough? No. I think in order to grow and in order to become as efficient as possible and to find all those cost avenues, we're not doing enough. Some people have told us, we're already behind the times. Some people have said, no, you're right where you need to be, but this is what you have to do next. So, I think for our organization and the CEO and the board are having these conversations, I think there's certain things that we're going to have to do right away. We're going to have to do some bite-sized things, and that's going to be around education. That's going to be around giving our staff, as limited as they are in numbers, more to work with so that they can get their members what they need. I think that's first and foremost. So we don't want to eat the entire table's worth of food. We just want to start with, just eat the entree right now, just get started. To use the analogy, we don't want a bellyache. We want to be able to onboard this in the best way we know how. That's going to be really best for us.
Thanks. I know we're out of time, so I'm just going to run everybody. If you can take 10 seconds or 15 to kind of answer that question. Liz, you're next. Enough. Bold question for the group.
Oh, it is a good question, and I hadn't even really thought about that yet. So I don't want enough to be enough. I want to just always
like that.
challenge us to, keep moving forward, and even if they're small steps, that, we keep elevating what we're doing. So that would be my answer.
Love it. Nathan.
One of the jokes that I always use for the vendors when we're working with and we're working on implementing something is I said, I have to let you know, we move at the speed of a credit union. So credit unions are very slow adopters. They kind of a hurry up and wait type of a thing. I think we're not going as fast as I would like it to go, but we're going faster than what we used to. Their CEO was able to kind of, we do have like an IT steering committee. So, and they were kind of like putting all these roadblocks up for everything. So and we had that for about a year. And the CEO went in and had a conversation with the committee, and there is a board member in there, and just kind of gave them the direction that, you know, you are to help with the governance and help us with the process and ask good questions. But as far as for the direction of the credit union, that's coming from the executive team. So you're not the decision maker. We're the decision maker. You're just here to help guide us. Is that, you know, which direction might we want to, or what haven't we looked at? So we're going faster than we used to, but is it fast enough? No.
Well, it's an increasing pace. I think that's what one of the big things that's bringing on is the rate of change. Brian, Mr. Grant.
Yeah, so my background is in security, so we're going just fast enough. But that's
Sounds like
my
an auditor
answer.
too, right?
Yeah, that's my
Too
answer.
fast.
But if you ask some of the others, no, they're waiting for those efficiencies to moving forward. But like some of my big things, I mean, I read an article last week about Claude deleting databases and all of the backups in a 9-second period. It's like, okay, how do we make sure that that doesn't happen ever?
I
And
read that
so,
article too, by the way.
yeah,
It was a rental car company, a rental car software provider. Well, it turns out 2 days later they were able to find a backup, but Claude
a
found that too.
3-month-old backup.
I don't know if they did. So it didn't was,
Yeah.
but you're right. You're right. And actually, that's I read that too. It's funny. You should follow. Maybe our Google feed's the same. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with it. I mean, we are moving forward. We are getting that plan in place. So that's, I mean, that's the good news. Are we ever going to be cutting edge? No, we're a credit union. But it's that idea of, okay, continue to move and just don't get too far outpaced.
So we work with credit unions and community banks. And I gotta tell you, mid and small size organizations is what I say. You know, under 10. But it's the same. I mean, Dan, you're a community bank.
I was just gonna say, is this why credit unions buy banks? It's like, I mean, you know, this reminds me 8 years ago when I got 9 years ago when I got into banking, and I think Capital One is they came up with the banking reimagined and had everyone scared that all the branches were going to be gone, and we have to get into online banking. And I swear this is the same discussion we had 6, 7 years ago about the online experience. I think it's going the momentum and the excitement's there. At some point in the next 3 to 5 years, the pendulum will swing to the middle. We'll find that happy medium, and we're going to get the experience that everyone's going to be happy with. But this is literally the same discussion that we had 6, 7 years ago.
So Cap One's my alum. I started my first job was at Cap One. I was with them for almost 8 years, and I would say they I think have now returned and have decided to increase their banking presence, their branch presence too. They're obviously very tech heavy, but they have started to so clearly a pivot too. You know, it's hard to predict 7 years or 9 years ahead of time what's going to go on. So I agree with you. I think these discussions, some of them will continue, still different flavor. Eric, last to you. Last but not least, go ahead, please. Are you doing enough?
I think I already did that one. It was there. I'm sorry if I missed the.
No. I mean, I think a lot of the questions sort of flow in. So sometimes they do.
Yep.
I'll give one sort of analogy quick as an example of the collections thing. So in the platform we built, dynamic communications, again, whether you use us or not, I mean, nobody, it's the futures. We send communications out to folks that haven't paid their car loan. And it'll say, you know, please pay a car loan or whatever, respond you and click it. And if the person pays it, and the next time they open that same email, it's dynamically HTML rendered where it'll now say, thank you so much for your payment. So not only is the timing and the emotions important, but it's also how you make the person feel when they look at that. So reminding them of the payment is important if they haven't paid, but if they've paid it, you can transform it into something that's a little bit more consumer friendly. Appreciate everybody's time. So sorry for going over. We normally try to keep it in. I think we had a couple of folks coming in and out, but But thank you again. Really appreciate it. And like I said, we'll follow up. If there's anything you don't want to share, please let me know, and we'll take it off. You can email me, and we'll take it off the sort of the summary that's shared over the next day or two. Thank you very much, Liz. Thanks, Brian, and thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nathan.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.